What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by Ping Pong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Crossover Commerce. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is my corner of the internet where I bring the best and brightest in the Amazon and e-commerce space. It looks like a corner because it is a corner, folks. I literally and figuratively bring you the best and brightest people in the space into my area where I can just talk with them about anything from Amazon to logistics to sourcing and supplying to marketing, advertising. Yesterday, we talked PPC. The world is our oyster in this space, and we're here to bring you the best and brightest who have done it, who have walked the walk, who've talked the talk, and can give you actionable insights to help grow your business, whether you're selling on Amazon, e-commerce, direct-to-consumer, multiple marketplaces, or you're just getting started on your journey and you're like, what is this Amazon thing? This is the podcast for you. This is episode 229 of this podcast, Crossover Commerce. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer. If you're new to the show, this is live on let's try again. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. Got it off my tongue. And of course, you can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast destinations, whether that be on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, any of your favorite podcast destinations. You can subscribe to that by just looking up Crossover Commerce Podcast with Ryan Cramer. That you will find all of our past episodes. Or you know what? Just go to usa.pingpongx.com/podcast to watch and look at all of the transcripts of every single episode that we've uploaded thus far. That's right, 228. Today's 229, 228 episodes uploaded to make sure that you guys can go back, reference past episodes, look at future episodes if you want to. Just subscribe to those down the road. We have so much content coming your way. I took about a 3-week hiatus just because of traveling. Bunch of trips that kind of got compacted into March. March is, figuratively madness for so many different words, but it has been crazy. We're almost rounding out the first quarter of the year, but we're back at it with all of our podcasts. And that leads us into today's title, what we call today. I always bring on back. I love people when they come back on the episode. That means I didn't screw it up the first time or the second time, or if they happen to come out multiple times, I must be doing something right. So that being said, I'm bringing back friends of the show, Lisa and Francois of Noviland, also Link Up Leaders, their podcast, which is fantastic. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe as well. But we're going to be talking a little bit, a couple different things, right? The current state of logistic affairs, which is what Noviland does, but also we're going to just recap a little bit of Prosper. We haven't got a chance to do that yet on this podcast, where we were both there. We all met up in person. It was really good to see everyone individually in person as well as a collective. We didn't get to see everyone, but the people I did get to meet up with, just good to recap. They hosted a panel on the current state of logistic affairs. We can recap that a little bit and also just kind of chat with our friends in the space. So without further ado, bringing on Francois and Lisa of Noviland. Guys, welcome back to Crossover Commerce.
Thank you for having us again. I cannot believe that you're already on episode 229. It feels like we just joined you for your 200th episode.
I was going to say, guys, I did one starting in 2021. I was on 30. Then I buzzed through that and I got to 200 pretty quickly. So yeah, we were averaging about 2 a day, one every other. Let's try this again. 1 every 2 days is what it came out to.
You do need more coffee.
Yeah, well, I'm drinking it right now. I'm on
or less coffee.
More or less coffee.
Depends.
I speak a lot faster when I'm with exciting people like you guys. So I appreciate it. You guys just came off a podcast, which is really cool. You're doing the same stuff. You guys just eclipsed 100, 150. What was it?
Just eclipsed 100. Yeah, we've got it booked out through like episode 126 now or something like that.
Holy
so
smokes.
we're coming
Cruises.
for you.
Well, it comes and goes. It's always like it's a blur from 100 to 200. And you're like, what did I do in that time frame?
Yeah.
It's all over the place. So, hey, but thanks for coming on. Let's throw up some names there. So, Lisa and Francois, hosts of Link Up Leaders. That's what we're referencing. If you guys haven't subscribed, again, if you're listening to this, search for them on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. I always feel like follow them on LinkedIn and then obviously subscribe to those channels. So, you guys, I never asked this. Why podcasting? Like for you, what was that podcast journey like to get started and do your own?
Yeah. Well, it was just a
Or did Francois just make you, Lisa?
Well, I was going to let Francois answer it because it was kind of his idea. I mean, when I got hired on, the goal was get Francois on as many shows as possible. And I did. Got him on like 30 shows or something like that, something crazy in a short period of time. But he really wanted to create the show because I think, and what I actually always tell people, I guess I should stop doing this if it's wrong, is that, you know, when you were doing all the onboarding for the Noviland users, you were getting a lot of the same questions and a lot of the same misinformation from like the gurus and stuff like that. And just wanted to create like a repository of information. And we obviously don't know everything, right? Like we work in the supply chain side of things. We don't really work within Amazon or, you know, we don't do any PPC or anything like that, but it's so much of their business that Francois' idea was really to just create this like this library of information and education for our users and really anybody wanting to scale their e-commerce business. That's what I always tell people when they ask us why we started it. What is your answer?
That's right. Yeah, no, that's right. But I mean, originally it was just sort of a conversation in passing. If you remember, we were just sort of in the office and it wasn't like a huge, we didn't have a plan necessarily going into it, but we were like, we know what we like. We know what we don't like. I knew that going on other people's podcasts, I didn't like the fact that I had to answer questions within a certain time. Like, hey, I'm going to ask you this questions. We have 10 questions. You have 2 minutes per answer. I'm like, well, why? Like these, let's say the second and the third question have nothing to do with each other, but there's so much more that you could elaborate on the second question that it could tie into the third question. And it's like, well, you know, what if we could just have an open conversation, one that is conversational? It's not scripted. We just have a topic and we just sort of talk about the topic, which is what we've stayed true to this entire time. But also it's, how can you tie supply chain into it? Right. I mean, there's so much content out there that talks about marketing, that talks about more of this downstream. How do you connect with consumers? But there's not enough talked about supply chain. And today, for example, we talked about return logistics, and the way that Chuck was describing, and he's with Reverse Logics with an X at the end, the way that he was describing everything, it's like this perfect harmony where you think about everything. And the typical Amazon seller or brand in general, they think about their brand, they think about their product, they think about how are we going to market it, how are we going to build, you know, something fantastic online, but not so much, hey, what happens when people return it? How can that help us improve our product? How can that help us improve customer experience? How can that, at the end of the day, maybe increase our bottom line? So maybe we could reduce prices across the board. We could service a better product and a better consumer experience. So there's so much that ties into that where it's like, supply chain's not sexy. I get it. I get very excited about it. A lot of people don't. I don't know why. Blows my mind.
You don't know why they don't get excited about it?
No, I don't know why they don't get excited. When you start to really learn about it and the nuances of it, it's fascinating.
You're a big puzzler, aren't you, Francois? You like puzzles. You like putting stuff together and taking it apart.
I think I do. But ultimately, it's like, look at Amazon, right? You might consider it a retailer, you might consider it a marketplace, but what are they if they're not just a massive infrastructure of very efficient supply chain operations, right? All the way from getting your products to their warehouses to getting it to the customer within 1 to 2 days. So they built this massive brand around just that, right? Consumer trust of, I know I'm going to get it tomorrow. I know I'm going to get it in 2 days. I know Amazon vets these suppliers and that they have to hold or abide by certain policies. So they're going to sell me a good product and they have the A to Z guarantee. There's just so much that goes into just supply chain that it's exciting when you actually learn about it and you don't talk about, hey, this is a struggle that I had with this one supplier. Yeah, that's it gets boring. But when you talk about the entire thing, it just requires so much synchronicity and it sort of creates this harmony within your business that I find it extraordinarily exciting.
I like that. And I think you were mentioning this too. Did you also feel like it was important to be able to educate people on the mic side of things too? Because if you're a guest, I feel like you only have one purview and they're asking you for that one purview and you kind of get boxed in. You said boxed in, and I definitely come from my perspective as a guest. I hate being boxed in. I want to get the breadth of every conversation that maybe comes up in the conversation. But I don't feel like you can necessarily do that on a guest side. You can certainly talk about day to day. That's why you can do 100+ episodes, 200+ episodes on my end. that's why I think it's exciting to be in a podcast situation. You're educating yourself in the breadth of e-commerce, not just that one little minute vertical.
Oh yeah, I've learned so much, and I'm sure Francois has too. But like, there's we almost like selfishly book the guests for like who we want to talk to for what we want to learn about the different facets of e-com. And we can't be the only ones that do that. But yeah, just the amount of information you get. Yeah, like the information that you get is just invaluable. Like, I mean, it's awesome.
There's people out there that came up to me at Prosper, and this maybe dovetails into it. They go, "I love your show," and I said, "You're full of crap." Like, there's no way that you actually listen, because there's people I respect in the space. Like, why would you spend your time, valuable time in the space listening to me? But again, it's also I think it's a pat on all of our backs when you have people that say you're doing a good job. It's a validation thing. It's not why we do it, but it's also those people intimidate me into the fact that I haven't asked them on the podcast yet, which is crazy to think. But there's a subset of people I think are just, they got so much going on. They would say no, and I want to keep my batting average at 100. Or 1,000, I should say. For baseball references, it's 1,000, 100%. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Got it.
Anyway, so who are those people who haven't had on that you haven't you wish you would come on so far on the podcast?
We haven't connected with Pearl, and I would like to with First
Love
Choice.
Pearl.
Yeah, I think I got to meet her very, very, very briefly at Powwow, and then I didn't get to talk to her while we were at Prosper, but I know she was there. I would like to get Pearl on, which is also very
I'm gonna tag Pearl. I'm in the comment section. Pearl, you need to go and link up leaders right now. Speaking of people who are listening, Vincenzo, thank you so much for hopping on today. Look at that. Ooh, that's sorry about the screenshot, guys. It jumps on us. Great content, Ryan Cramer. Keep it up. I got it. It's okay. We my graphic designer, he creates these boxes so it looks pretty until you do the comments or the brand and anything cool graphically in here. Anyways, Vincenzo, thanks for listening on YouTube. I appreciate the kind words. And Pearl, let's do this way. So Pearl, First Choice Logistics, First Choice Shipping. There's I'll let you guys know on a secret. There's something new coming from Pearl and First Choice Shipping. Stay tuned. I can't tell you, but there's news and announcements coming soon. So I'm gonna tease it for her. I won't say what it is, but it's coming in the next few weeks.
Maybe I'm gonna have to subscribe to their newsletter or something.
Subscribe to the newsletter. Yep, you'll see it on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Yeah, shipping and logistics. I mean, we've seen, and not too many, it's not really talked about hugely right now, but China's going through a second wave or third wave or whatever you want to, however many waves there have been of COVID right now. And they shut down the sort of the Silicon Valley of China, which is Shenzhen. And I believe they also shut down a portion of Dongguan, but it's like, and this is, I'm going to beat a dead horse when it comes to supply chain. It just all ties together to the point where it's like, hey, truckers can't get into certain cities, so they can't deliver certain products. So they're just stuck with product in their truck, so they can't pick up anything. And so it's sort of going back to the harmony of like, well, everything affects everything. If, China, if one small subset of China, and Shenzhen by no means is small, it's massive when it comes to manufacturing, particularly electronics and semiconductors. So if something like that gets shut down, the whole world is impacted. And it's shut down for a week doesn't mean that everything's delayed by a week. It means they have to pick and restart this engine sort of, hey, the Shenzhen ports are closed. So let's say carriers are diverting to Shanghai, and now everything has to be transported to Shanghai. Well, when they reopen, they still have a backlog of vessels that are waiting to get in. They're holding all this product. Everything's on containers. That means manufacturers can't use containers because they're already being utilized. And so it's just problem after problem after problem. And I think particularly over the past 2 years, and since we started the podcast, actually, we've seen the topic of supply chain become more prevalent, to where it's not this just in time. What did you say earlier, Lisa? Not just in time,
but just in case.
Just in case inventory.
Just in case shipping.
Yeah.
Well, just in case inventory.
Inventory.
Oh,
yeah. Not even just getting it to where like it gets to Amazon then shipped out, or it's like having a little bit extra just in case something happens, just in case a boat gets stuck in a canal, or
like
just
that buffer.
In case.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, having buffer stock.
Is that weird? Is that weird to have to start planning for that now? On your guys' side, do you see a lot of clients that are really planning for it?
Well, so with my background's more in industrial engineering. So even going to school, you learn about safety stock. That's like one piece that everyone sort of
You want that in almost
emphasizes
any
on.
industry, food. You want it in any sort of like. I
Yeah.
think in a service capacity or product capacity, if you run out, it's detrimental, especially if supply and demand, obviously. But
Yeah.
that's hard to forecast for you. Obviously, you don't want to overbuy, but to have just some, or at least have that backup plan in case, like you said, just in case. You would think that people would snap into that a little bit more, a little bit quicker.
You would think, right? But that's why it's like, why isn't supply chain talked about more? why is your downstream supply chain, the marketing, the PPC, the budget that you have for PPC, the expansion into omnichannel, but not your plan to expand into omnichannel? Why is all of that talked about more than your entire upstream? What about the relationships that you have with your suppliers? What about what happens if you can't ship to the East Coast? What happens if, prices from UPS and FedEx start to go up, which is what we saw this year with an average 8% raise, and Amazon's feeling it, you're going to feel it. So, I mean, it's why is that not top of mind when your entire business, the entire infrastructure is built on supply chain? I don't get it.
I'm gonna mute myself. I got it. Now I go. I was gonna take a drink, but then I started pushing buttons and then forgot about mute. So just in case that makes sense, China seems to be a lot of different, has all these cogs going, but then one gear shuts down and it feels like it's backing up. What are logistics? What are supply times right now? If I'm shipping from Shenzhen to West Coast, is it still as bad as it was, or are we seeing alleviation? Like, what is that generic time frame that people can see their goods turned around in?
I think right now, going to Long Beach, a conversation that I just had the other day, they were seeing somewhere around anywhere between 50 and 70 days. So it's still a very, very long time, as opposed to a 20-day sail time and maybe a week-long shipping time domestically. So, I mean, we're talking still 100% increase or 2-time increase of what it was before. At least.
Are prices still that high, or have they
They've come down. Yeah, they've come down a good bit. I mean, we were seeing them upwards of $20,000 at one point, which is absurd, right? But I mean, it's basic economics, Econ 101, supply and demand. Right now, I think they're teetering between like 10 and 13,000. So they've come down significantly, not significantly to the point where they're back at like the $2,500 to like $3,500 level. Though.
Right. And that's for a what size container?
A 40-foot container.
40 foot.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, like, how have people adapted? I mean, since I have had you guys on last individually, I feel like there was a lot of trying to go in with other private labels, or there was a lot of people who were trying to put duct tape over a giant gaping hole in their boat. There was a lot of like makeshift fixes to the problem. But has there been a shift in like permanent fixes, or is it all still makeshift at this juncture?
I think it's a big mindset shift and a big conversation starter, right? I think it's forced, and we've talked about this on the show a lot, about this sort of forced maturity in the space where, for example, we talked about safety stock just now, where that should be first top of mind for everyone. Well, for those companies that it wasn't, now that is top of mind for them. Now they are thinking about, hey, what is the next step? What if Amazon changes my IPI and I can't ship it into Amazon? Well, I need partner 3PLs. Well, about those 3PLs and sort of diving into Prosper and our conversation from Prosper, FBA alternatives, it's, well, who's the right 3PL for you? And how much volume are you going to be moving from them? What are the right questions to ask them even? Because if you've never worked with them, you would never know what questions to ask. It's not just give me your price and I take the best price. It's, hey, what's the level of service? Can you take returns? Do you have experience with repackaging or bundling? I mean, there's just so many nuances that sort of go into it that just have never really been thought about because it's always been done for you, right? Amazon, for the most part, for a lot of these brands, has been their bread and butter, just solely relying on them. Well, we're seeing nowadays that you can't do that.
What about you, Lisa? What on the marketing side? Because again, congratulations on the promotion.
Thanks.
We haven't shouted that out. I know what's going on your guys' end. So don't you worry.
He's keeping up.
I'm keeping up. I know what's up. Since you've been there, a year plus, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
What's been different for you guys on the marketing side to have to re-educate? Is it more educational? Is it more get the name out there more? There's a lot of competition in the logistics and supply chain, like you said.
Yeah.
How are you guys positioning yourself more so as a problem solver instead of just an educational component?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's largely done through the education, though. I mean, we're focusing a lot on the podcast. We're focusing a lot on just getting Francois on other shows too, and really just creating those partnerships and being a reference point, I guess, for any of our partners where they say, hey, my clients are coming to me saying I'm having these, shipping issues or sourcing problems. Can you guys help them out? Because we're not really big on a lot of this industry is so word of mouth, and we kind of not lean on that, but that's kind of where we've been really successful. A lot of our focus as of late has been focusing on our own e-commerce platform. But as far as like the logistics, I mean, everybody talks, like once you can help somebody get their product shipped here quicker and for cheaper, or even on, same price, if it's just faster, folks are going to tell their friends. Like it's just
or easier.
Or easier. Yeah, just more simply. Yeah, just going on through the platform. It's, the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
So what are the you mentioned the e-commerce platform. Tell me a little bit about that, because I know we haven't talked about that specifically. You guys saw a problem. You created a whole different ecosystem / marketplace. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't think last time we were on we could talk about it.
You couldn't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we weren't allowed.
I knew about it.
No.
I'm just gonna say I knew about it, but no one else did.
Do you want to talk about it, Spa, or do you want me?
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. Well, as you mentioned, it is a solution really that we are able to provide a lot of our partners. We work with a lot of brands that ship the products from overseas and use us for sourcing or shipping or 3PL or all three of them. And a big topic of conversation around the past 24 months has really been, hey, Amazon is throttling my inventory, or Wayfair is becoming more competitive, or I want to expand from Amazon onto other marketplaces. So let me start to use your 3PL. And so we added this new service of something we're continuously improving on and building out, but essentially allowing them to offer their products without the referral fee that Amazon charges, which can range upwards of 15%, without additional PPC or advertising costs, without additional storage costs, with cheaper fulfillment costs, because we're able to own and manage our own fulfillment here in the city of Atlanta, in Metro Atlanta, actually. And being able to offer all these things do two things. One, it allows larger margins for the brand, which is important. And it's not a rip and replace service. There's nothing you have to do, actually. We just list the products, and when people buy them, we ship them from here and we pay you. It's as simple as that. But two, it reduces the costs for the consumers, right? When you're seeing everything across the board on Amazon start to go up, and eventually we'll get to a moment where we start to get into price wars and prices are going to start to go back down. I love it as a consumer. I know that. But consumers are seeing steadily rising costs, and they want the products quick. So, well, if we can provide your product at a cheaper price, because you're not paying all these additional operational fees and advertising fees and referral fees and storage, all these just additional costs that you have to factor into your price, then we can offer that to the consumer as well. And we could ship it for you, and it could be delivered the next day. And we could provide you insights that the customers might be giving us that you don't have a chance to see necessarily on these other platforms. So it's this new service. It's called ModCart. It's launched in Metro Atlanta right now. We're adding a ton of new features, but also really becoming this essential part to Metro Atlantans' everyday lives by offering everyday essentials. So anything that you could buy at the store, for example, we're going to have all those products: toilet paper, paper towels, baby wipes, everything that you really need in life, and do that at a store cost, because you also see like Uber Eats, which Lisa just sent me some advertisements for, which I find hilarious.
They were so funny.
I would YouTube search.
Can you eat it or not?
Yes,
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge and the lipstick. Yeah.
Exactly
Uber don't eat.
Tastes like purple, guys. Come on.
Tastes just like purple.
But then think about that. Like, how immediately do you actually need Q-tips or toilet paper? That might be a little bit more
immediate need.
But like aluminum foil, that's in one of the ads. It's like, do I need it within an hour? Probably not. But you're paying, let's say an average of 15% on top of the product fee that's at the store. You're paying, which is just the platform charging that service provider or that retailer. And then you're paying additional delivery fees, let's say $3.99, right? Doesn't seem like much, but then you're paying a tip, right? And if you're a commoner, which I hope most people do this, you're paying about 20%, right? And if you're spending like $50, $70 at the store, that adds up. Right there, you're paying an additional like $15, $20 just because you didn't want to go to the store. Well, what if we can offer that at store price with next day delivery? So we don't have to manage all the additional things or operations that Uber has to, because they can deliver it within an hour, or DoorDash, which is another huge convenience provider. I think they take up like 20 or 30% of convenience deliveries, something ridiculous. And do that in a way that's not going to force you to pay more, but you can get the same products. Overall, it's just a solution for both sides, right? I mean, retailers want people to come into the stores. We get it. But people as consumers, we want the products and we don't necessarily need them immediately. And we're not always willing to pay an arm and a leg with gas prices being $4.50.
So what about order online pickup? Like at a location, they themselves are making them. They're, again, Domino's is doing the same thing, like the promotional aspect of you get $3 if you choose to pick up towards your next order. So we don't have to send a delivery person to your, like, call it keeping the tip. Like that's what they're kind of promoting is, hey, you go to the store, you kind of do all the legwork, we get it, we're going to reward you for it. Is that on the radar, or is that still a very difficult like nature of takes away all the convenience of ordering online?
Well, we're thinking about it. And you forgot to mention a keyword there, Francois. It's not just next day delivery, it's free next day delivery.
Free next day delivery.
So it's free next day delivery to anywhere in Metro Atlanta, which is not just ITP or in the perimeter, it's the 29 counties. And we also don't have the membership fee that everybody forgets that they pay for Amazon Prime.
No, I don't.
$12.99 a month. You don't pay for Prime?
No, I do. I'm saying I don't forget.
Yeah. Oh, you don't
up
forget.
again this year.
Yeah, it's
I make it worth it.
Bucks.
I make them do that job.
I do too.
I take free shit.
But
free next day shipping.
But you forget about it. So it's like, you're paying for that. But the pickup, we've talked about it. I think it'll probably be a down the road thing, but if it's free next day delivery, we'll bring it to you. Like it's saving time. Like there's so much other stuff that you have to do with your life and not have to go to the store for toilet paper or aluminum foil or, Q-tips or whatever else it is.
I'll share the opposite end of the spectrum of Amazon's leaning more into immediacy, but that they're meaning they're also additionally charging you if you want it in a 4-hour window.
Right.
Exactly.
That night, next morning before 8 a.m. Like I saw, what was I ordering? I was ordering USB-C to USB converters. Like clearly not an immediate need. Like something my wife said, we should do this because we need it for the car. We have Apple phones now. We need to convert it. Okay, cool. Let me throw it on. We'll get it tomorrow. Big deal. It's in my mailbox right now, actually. But Amazon was curiously asking, do you need this in the next hour? Okay, here's $2.99 for quote unquote free shipping, but need it immediate. So
yeah,
thinking about it, they're leaning into it where a lot of people are trying to not obviously do it so immediate. You're talking about not immediate needs, stuff like that, where they're charging for people who do need immediate for some reason or another.
That makes sense. Think about like if your cord for your microphone went out and you had a podcast later this afternoon, you can go to the store, but think about your next thing. What if your wife was out and your kids were still babies? Yeah. Right. You have to now get them ready. You have to put the strollers in the car. You have to go all the way to the store, take them out, hopefully with you into the store.
For the toddler, you have to remember the diapers snacks. In case you have a blowout. You've got to, it's a whole thing.
So, I guess there's two components to the lifestyle, right? One is really, hey, I'm making enough money where I just want things quickly and I don't care. But also it's those that are probably underserved that have other things that they want to do. They want to go to the gym after work. They want to go to brunch and not have to go to the store right after that or right before that because they want bottomless mimosas. There's so many parts to a lifestyle where there's a lot of things that you just don't need immediately. But again, you're just not willing to pay an arm and a leg. And retailers or brands certainly don't like it. Amazon just continuously raises their prices. Carriers are too. 3PLs are going to in the next year or two. I mean, it's going to just keep adding up. So why not have an alternative to that?
Is there a were you talking about this kind of pre-show for everyone listening and watching? Again, if you have questions, everyone, I'm just gonna put it out there. Feel free to throw those in. Like Vincenzo, doesn't have to be a compliment. It could just be, hey, I don't understand this. Please explain it more what we're talking about. I have a question. What is the how much is waste versus convenience outweigh each other? For example, we were talking about this pre-show, Lisa. Hey, is that electric car actually being is that battery being processed at a fuel efficient or a power efficient way? Maybe not. Is the process of having a immediate shipping, is that going to outweigh Amazon's pledge to be eco-friendly because you have somebody on standby who either has to get it to you in 2 hours or not? That's just one truck maybe that's doing it. I don't know. Like is there a line where maybe that's just too much?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I mean, there's much more than that, right? There's the cross distribution. For example, it's, hey, you send it to Amazon. How many other warehouses is Amazon sending it to in order to get it to you within 4 hours? Because if you're in Ohio and this thing is in California, you're not getting it in 4 hours. You have to wait the 1 to 2 days. They're only offering you that 4 hour window for products that they have in local.
Regionally. Correct.
Yeah. So it's like, think about all the networks that they have to create there. And obviously they have the infrastructure for it, so they could do it. But it's like, what's that worth to you? Are you actually an earth warrior or tree hugger if you're ordering something within 4 hours? Or do you just not understand the supply chain complexities?
How does Amazon continue to uphold a pledge logistically to be carbon neutral by 2040, whatever it is, if you're offering something as specific as, like you said, regionally? Again, I think you can logistically try to load up at one van and get it to places and regionally figure it out, but that you're leaning on technology very heavily. Possible, but is that something that also goes with that pledge? Again, I'm talking hypothetics. In the logistics world, you have so many moving parts. If one thing breaks down, you're gonzo. Like you're not going to get your goods in next day or 2 days. It could be lost. It could be all these things. A person crashes, like all these things that happen.
Yeah, I think my immediate reaction is that they're really going to have to start leaning on kind of the use of the drones, because there's a reason why you can select your Amazon day delivery and get your product shipped at one time and with fewer boxes, right? That way you're using less packaging theoretically, and you're, having the truck being sent out to your home less frequently. But if you're talking about you've run out of some very important item, let's just say diapers, because that's just first thing that's coming to my mind, and you need them before 8 a.m. or before 4 a.m., whatever the option is.
Or that child wakes up again.
Oh my God. Yes. And then you're just like wrapping them in towels. They're probably going to have to use the drones to get them delivered. And I only say that because I think that there's a way that you can maintain the pledge to be carbon neutral when you're using electric vehicles, even though the development of the batteries is using a lot of, fossil fuels and stuff like that. It's semantics. Exactly. You can kind of work the books to where it looks like you're doing a lot better.
Sure.
And in that immediate moment, you technically are. I think that it is possible, but they're not going to be able to continue to do it with gas powered trucks. And they might even be using EVs, but still the net at the end of the day doesn't really work out super great. So I don't know.
It is when you own an EV company, so I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Thanks for having. Anyways, Francois, go ahead.
It's important to also note, a lot of these companies just have ESG scores, right? Environmental, social, and governance, and they're scored based on that. Nike, every major corporation has these. So, I mean, for them to say that they're going to either offset or go neutral doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stop using gas or anything. It's just, hey, we're going to also put forth, let's say, 10% of our overall annual budget is going to go towards R&D that's supposed to help reduce a lot of this.
That's true.
And that's part of their pledge. And that's, it's sort of like how a company says, hey, for every box shipped, we're going to plant a tree. Well, how are you going to plant that tree? Does that actually make an impact? Are you looking at the short term or the long term? Are you planting bamboo, or does it actually affect any of the packaging? So it's like, you're doing something that offsets, but it's not necessarily saying that you're getting rid of your process, right? The greater that you grow your supply chain globally, the more impact you're going to have, no matter what. But it's, I don't know. I would have to look more into sort of what they mean by neutral. What does neutral actually mean?
Yeah.
Because Flexport, for example, you can offset your carbon emissions by donating a certain percentage of your costs. And I think you can even write that off. But you pay a certain percentage to offset your carbon, and they donate that on your behalf or something along those lines. But I mean, you're not wasting
It's
any
not
less.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I was thinking, like from the carbon neutrality and offsetting kind of perspective, is like a true like reduction of use as opposed to like a monetary offset. I mean, they could do that all day long.
Yeah, monetary offsets, you see that all the time. Amazon would say, hey, do you want your goods on your Prime Day? Or which I didn't even think is a thing. It's not a thing. It's you're on Prime. You get it on Tuesdays every week. Like there's no way I'm going to do that. But is $1 in credits, or how much is actually incentivizing people to hold off on a day or two? Like, is $1 really worth it? Not for a lot of people. I mean, what are you going to do? Rent a movie? Maybe. I don't know. But they add up. But
movies aren't where are you getting movies for $1?
Yeah, that's a better question.
No, I mean digital rentals, or I don't know. I mean, you need like 3 of them to add up to that. But that's the question. Is like, is $1 really incentivizing people to, hey, I'm going to hold off on a day or 2 or 3 or 5 for all my goods to come in one package? Maybe not. Like, I don't think that's the case for a lot of people. Do you see an uptick on that, or is there any data that you guys have that people are willing to just have free shipping, but give it up for immediacy?
No, I don't think so, especially after COVID and everything having to be delivered to the home on a 2-day or less turnaround time. I can't imagine, after the dependency that we've created from ordering, from e-commerce, that we're going to then say, I'm only getting stuff on Tuesdays. I don't see that happening.
Well, especially when, everyone that's growing up, that's all they know.
Right? Oh, yeah.
I mean, the older generation, they are used to going to the store, and it's this part of their life that's integral, right? But you're 18 years old, coming out of, living at your parents' house, and all is, hey, for the past 10 years of my life, we've been getting boxes and it has everything we need. Hey, we don't even go grocery shopping anymore. We just get HelloFresh and it's delivered. And we don't know what to do with these ice bricks that they send with it. It's just,
oh my God, you get so many of them.
You need to recycle it, but you need to remove everything from the inside first. And all that other stuff.
Exactly.
It's like, who's actually doing these things? I think, if we actually wanted to change something, it's not so much, we're not going to change our habits very easily. At least we could change it through education, though, right? Like, hey, what can I do that, first of all, is not a big part of my life? I don't have to change anything. I'm still going to order from Amazon. But what else can I do that maybe helps out? Can I donate the boxes somewhere? Can I sign up to a recycling service? Well, I've never thought about signing up to a recycling service. Maybe Amazon could tell me about my local options. I mean, there's more that I think a lot of these big corporations can do when it comes to education and sustainability. A lot more than just, hey, we're trying to be sustainable.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's also Amazon announced long-term storage if it's sitting in its warehouse for longer than a year, I think, or a certain, if it's between time A and time B, they have to either remove it, or it has to be they're going to be penalized by it with a fee, or they have to have it burned or anything like that. What's are you guys getting questions and pushback from clients from that, of how to get it removed, or what's the worry there?
Well, I mean, Amazon, and I think a lot of us have to stop calling them warehouses. They're warehouses by what we know of warehouse. Yeah. They're fulfillment centers. Their goal is not to be the next U-Haul that has a warehouse where you store your products and you pay a monthly rent for that particular lot. No, Amazon is trying to have quick turnaround so they can continue bringing in new products to get you the 4-hour delivery service. So part of Amazon's goal, and just talking to enough people, is just, let's aggregate as much data as possible. And that might mean that we have to pay a pretty penny to bring in 1,000 different individual units of this product just to see how quickly it sells. And then we're going to scale up those operations, because it doesn't cost them that much, but it's a lot of resources that they have to invest time wise. So the more data that they can collect, the better they can provide you, the customer, an experience. Ultimately, that's part of their entire flywheel, right? Provide the better experience, have more options. Have more options, get more customers, provide the best experience to the customers, propose better products to them. And that's how they sort of have their 3PL or their third party flywheel. But in regards to, the storage, we have to stop calling it a warehouse. It's 100% a fulfillment center. And I think it's their job. It would be irresponsible for them to just let people just use it as a warehouse.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit. So going to Prosper show, and this has to do with logistics.
Prosper.
You guys had to Prosper. Yeah.
There's so much fun.
Seems like a blur. It seems like forever, not too long ago, but it's already 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Haven't done a recap, but I attended your guys' panel, and I know you guys talked about logistics and kind of the current state in there. What was kind of that process like, first and foremost, being asked to speak, which is really cool, and then also hosting a panel? It was a good sized crowd, I would say. Like, what was your guys' take on that from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was a ton of fun, first of all, and an honor to be asked to be a speaker. I mean, that was my first ever Prosper show. So it was like, what am I? I've never been here before. What am I doing on this stage? This is crazy. But no, it was fantastic. I mean, I think that Brian and his team did an incredible job, just to give them kudos for organizing everything. Tony and Jody did amazing with the execution of day of, but it's the amount of information that was shared there was just absolutely incredible. And from the speaker's perspective, we got to learn so much along with our audience too. I mean, you were out, in the crowd. I hope that you were able to learn a lot from that too, but
of course
it was like a live podcast episode with an audience
with more other people
in real life. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to do a little shameless plug here. We're actually going to have 3 of our panelists on our show next week.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All at once or separately?
Separately. We're going to have Manish and
let
Eddie.
them shine individually.
Exactly. Yeah. We want to dive into each of their solutions because we only got 45 minutes up there with 4 incredible panelists. We had the CEO of Deliver, CEO of Kahoot, Matt Snyder with Very, and then Eddie Levine with HubDub. I mean, you can't dive into each of their businesses in 45 minutes, where you also have to talk about like the alternatives to FBA and like how, it's so much, but it was the most incredible experience. I kind of forgot your original question. I'm just like,
no, I'm saying what it was like. So what, I guess I'll back up a little bit. Your guys' expectations of Prosper met, exceeded, let down a little bit, or a little bit mixture of all? What was your all's take?
So he's been to a Prosper show before.
Okay.
Having not been to one before myself, I would say that it met my expectations. I kind of likened it to the large annual conference in the background screening industry, which is where I come from,
sure.
Called the PBSA annual show. And it's a little bit like, larger than life, and everything is, all the booths are crazy and there's lots of people. And I would definitely say that it met expectations for sure. I would have loved if the breakout rooms were a little bit closer to the exhibit hall, but I don't think that was within anybody's control. I think that was a Home Depot took over the whole other wing.
The sales managers, man, they get so excited. They're loud too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Home Depot if you're listening. If you're listening, Home Depot, you know how to throw a conference. Like, good for you guys.
They do.
Just the sales managers, though, no one else. Just the sales. That was cool.
And the vendors, right? The brand owners, right?
Yes, I think.
I thought they were showcasing their products. I don't know. I know they had a Home Depot.
There was a product
store,
show.
yeah.
There was a product show. Then there was the Home Depot show. And guys, this is in Vegas. This is like conference central and the mecca of the world.
Crazy.
Like, there's constant conferences going on, and they are all in the same building. Like, there was no doubt that we were going to overlap with somebody. I completely spaced it. I was like, oh, Prosper, we're going to take over. It's like, no, Home Depot's sales managers are taking it. Like, there's way more Home Depots in the world than there are probably close to Amazon sellers. Like, I don't think that's true, but it felt like it at that juncture.
Yeah. There were more orange tags than you know what to do with over there. I kind of hoped everybody was in aprons, but no dice.
Yeah, we need to do something like that at Prosper, so we stand out or do a hoop and hollering session. I'm sure we get so many people on board. No, so you guys were asked, Francois, you've been to a show. was it in 2021 you attended, or was it before that?
It was either 2019 or 2020. It was,
So
I
you
think, the
went
last
pre-pandemic?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, pre-pandemic. I think it was the last time that they were joined with the Affordable Shopping Destination, ASD.
Okay.
And
I think
that
it was
was
19 because I don't think there was a show in 20, was there? Because that was at the height of it. I mean, everything broke out
must
It
have been
happened.
March.
It happened, and then everything shut down.
Oh, it
or
did happen.
2018, I think. And this is Tim Jordan was speaking at one of these events, and I even in some of the webinars that because I was hosting webinars at that time for Noviland, I was using his example of, he was talking about product development, and it was a syringe. It might have been like a shot syringe or something, not like a medical device, but he was like trying to go cheap on it with his manufacturer, just trying to get the price down. And this is before he knew like how to develop relationships with them. And they ended up like thinning out the walls too much to use less material to meet his price point. And that's where I was like, this is the type of event, these are the types of conversations that everyone needs to be having, like the actual like, hey,
Gritty.
yeah, the nitty gritty,
Yeah.
more than just surface level stuff, where it's eye opening. And I think this one far exceeded my expectations. It was, the events were hands down some of the best events I think I've ever been to. So
yeah.
Well,
We
and to
talked
be
about the
fair,
after parties, yeah.
I went in with very high expectations, so I think that's why it didn't exceed expectations necessarily. It met my very high expectations for the show. So
Yeah,
I always keep very low expectations.
I don't.
Just so you can exceed them. No, yeah, I would agree with you both. I think the number one thing to do is obviously kind of catch up with a lot of people you met with or were introduced through for 2+ years. I know there was a lot of events happening in back half of 2021. That was definitely overwhelming. I think overwhelming to the point of there's not enough time. Like I'm a big time component, but I spent like half an hour talks with like a lot of people. Math does not add up quickly in my favor if I continue to do that. So shout out to people who spend some time with me. But again, I feel bad for not spending. I mean, I know we both brushed into after parties, and I know you guys were buzzing around, and I guess you guys did something different too than what Ping Pong did. Was Ping Pong had a booth? We had some other people there. You guys did not. What was? Do you feel like it's a pro, con, a wash? What do you guys take on? If I'm an exhibitor or service provider or something like that.
I would 100% exhibit there if I was a service provider, and we are a service provider, but it's not something that was necessarily in our plan to even do in the first place. Like we were still having conversations up in the air about whether or not we should go to Prosper before we were invited to talk.
Sure.
But the amount of people that were stopping and talking at these booths were insane. And like they didn't just have salespeople, a lot of these booths, they had experts and I was overhearing some of the conversations where they were just talking like, hey, this is my current strategy. I'm struggling with XYZ. And I know the Helium 10 booth was doing this. They had a whole slew of people, and the Take a team too.
Team.
Yeah, they were killing it. And they were just saying, I overheard a few conversations. It was just like, hey, these are the steps that you might want to take to try to correct this problem. And it's like, well, as a business owner that's maybe doing $500,000, $1 million in sales, 2 million, 3 million, if that affects 1%, 5%, 10% of your business, that's a huge amount in just one conversation. Right. That's guidance that you can give your team that maybe none of them thought about because they didn't have that experience. Maybe they use a service, but they never actually talked to an account manager about that specific problem. And they've been there, they've done that. And so it's, yes, the networking is huge, but the value that the sellers get when they actually attend and they just come with problems, that's invaluable. That's worth way more than the $300, $400 that you're spending to attend the conference. Just the floor. Yeah, just the floor.
Yeah. I think I definitely would like to see us exhibit in the future too. I think for this show, because our goal wasn't necessarily to promote Noviland, we were coming as, the co-hosts of Link Up Leaders. And that was our entire kind of directive, was to network with future guests and to network with future guests and meet with previous guests, then it made more sense for us to be mobile. But I would, maybe not in 2023, but in 2024, I definitely want to see us exhibit either as Noviland or as Modcart. And that way we can kind of start onboarding some of these sellers to be on the platform. But we'd have to be rolling with more than 2 deep. We're going to need some help. We're going to need teams, because we're still going to have to be out and social and hopefully speaking again. But I think our mobility was to our benefit this year. I think that we made a good decision by not exhibiting. Not saying that exhibiting wasn't more than beneficial for a lot of these companies. I'm sure you guys had just an endless, your booth was always busy. I'm sure you guys got a ton of leads from the show, but for kind of our objective, I think it made sense for us to not have a booth.
Yeah, it was a lot of good conversations. I think I kind of painted a picture on what a lot of people were looking for. I think you got a sense of where people were and how to meet them there. It was very interesting. I think my takeaway would be a lot of it was, hey, I think we're finally ready to start selling in a country not the United States. Like a lot of it actually surprised me in that, both on Amazon but also on different platforms. So omni-channel approach was definitely not just here in the United States, but also internationally. I think a lot of people are looking for the move, whether it be, hey, I'm an eBay seller, now I'm going to start selling on Amazon. Awesome. Very cool. How do we help you? There's a lot of, hey, our business has gone up and down. We had to figure out logistics, COVID, blah, 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 blah. Now we're ready to start kicking into high growth gear. How do you help us get into Canada or Mexico or something like that? Or they're trying to figure out sourcing logistics and trying to figure out what's more cost effective, maybe with the person and helping them in Mexico or China or India or you name it. A lot of people are having those kind of conversations that came in with hey, this is who I want to kind of focus on and go from there. I will say disappointed on the location aspect of the hall versus the talks. I think that we did lose. I think there's a lot of like traffic, and because there's so many talks like you guys had, a lot of people stay in there and they just like hunker down and they're just going to go from room to room. So you kind of miss out on that traffic besides mealtime, which is no one's going to miss meals and like food and stuff like that. They're not going to walk around. It's like, tell me about your business. So I think that was feedback I personally gave, but I was zooming around. I was all over the place. I think it's hard to like meet sellers where they were and not like just be approached, because that's kind of the whole stickler, if you will, of having a booth is you don't want to just stay landlocked. You want to try to meet people where you are. And I mean, for the first one out of a pandemic, it's not bad at all. Do you guys have a future plan on other ones you want to attend or exhibit at this year? What's kind of that for you?
We don't have a plan yet.
Just go with the flow.
Not yet.
Yeah, go with the flow. I mean, there's tons of events is a thing, right? There's ASGTG coming up.
Yep.
There's Take a Metrics
in July.
Powwows in July. Take a Metrics, Elizabeth Downing and Cameron Yoder. I don't know how to say his last name. Yoder. They are moderating one event. It's called, I think,
the LA Ecom.
Ecom. Yeah.
And that's and we have a promo code we could share with you after this too. I think it's Take a Metrics 50 or something like that, 50% off.
Liz, I know you're listening, so you need to throw that
up. So like that one's 50% off. That's in LA. So it's like, if Amazon sellers, and I know this is something that Mina recently talked about in one of his posts.
Mina Elias.
Mina Elias. And one of his strategies and one of his goals to grow his business is, hey, let's attend as many conferences and events as possible as a seller and learn, let's say, one key takeaway that we really should just look into because we never thought about it. How is that going to help us improve our business? And going back to that 1% rule, right? Is that going to improve our business by 1%? Well, that's 1% we didn't have before. What's 1% to $1 million, right? I mean, it just starts to add up. And if you do that at every conference or every event, learn all the service providers, learn ping pong payments and how they could save you millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
Save you a lot.
You know how we need to make our kind of travel plan is find Yoni Mazur's personal assistant. Get his events
His
calendar.
name is Rob Stanley.
Rob is booking all this stuff for Yoni. Whatever, call him
Rob.
Robbie. And just be like, this is what is Katina doing? Great.
They have a good thing. I'm not sure if you guys have seen, they actually have an event schedule. They kind of do per quarter. of all the things that they're sponsoring / attending. And I think that's kind of cool. Go quarter by quarter,
I
plan
haven't
it out that
seen
way.
that.
They do a lot. Like that's a lot. So we're kind of on the flip side of that. I think it's how do you be strategic about your ROI? And as a service provider, it's a little bit different. Like seller, a little bit different. Like you're investing in yourself and business. Service provider, I know everyone has the same thing of, hey, do I throw another $5,000 at a 10 by 10 booth with the hopes of hitting different clients and getting $5,000 worth of clients? Some people, yeah, it's really easy to do depending on what you do. But if I'll just call it Helium 10 and my subscription or a lifetime value of a customer is $5,000. That's pretty easy, like, or whatever you want to call it. If it's a lifetime, they're spending $5,000 with me, pays for itself. So it's easy to spend it. But if you have something low value and maybe it's just like, hey, you're a long-term play, maybe it's a little bit tougher to turn that around into a client. Again, each company is different. It just depends. So,
well, I think they could take away what you said, right? It's sort of that qualitative data of, hey, what do people actually care about right now? What are their pain points? How can I help solve that? If that doesn't make me $5,000 now, can I turn that into something that does eventually? I mean, it's I think a lot more value than just getting that one customer, that one client, or the 10 clients that you go there for. It's the opportunity to be connected, and that's really what this entire space is about, right? Your corner of the of the internet, for example, just connects all these different service providers and industry experts on different topics. And that's what I love about Amazon. And I know, Lisa, I think you share a similar sentiment with like the community.
100%. Yeah. I've, spoken before about my previous industry being significantly more cutthroat, and it was, very
the background check service industry.
Yes, it is there's some shiesty people, but there wasn't as much of a sense of there's enough pie to go around. There's enough business to go around. We can all get a piece of this pie. It's totally cool. Like everybody does so many different things within the industry, and it's just much more like welcoming, and everybody's so much more friendly. And it really is like, hey, let's all kind of be successful in this space, and how can we help each other do that? It's just the most supportive industry that I've been in, and I am thrilled to be here. Please invite us back to speak, Brian. It was the best. But yeah.
And you find out, I'm sorry to cut you off, Ron, but you find out also, like, as a service provider, who is your wrong customer. And we were talking to Mark Casey a little bit more from Mark Casey SEO, and he was saying, not every client that I meet here or potential client is right for me, and I'll just refer them to someone that I know in the industry that is right. For example, he refers David Dayon to clients that he knows would just be a better fit for David with the Ecom Cooperative. So it's just I think it's more than just looking at the ROI, and it's tough for a lot of businesses, I think, to not look at it from an ROI standpoint when that's usually the topic of conversation.
But you can even look at it from like the longevity of like that investment too. It's such a great place to make content. Like Takeo was recording a bunch of content. Carbon 6 was doing podcast
Helium
episodes.
10, Cassandra.
Helium 10. Oh my gosh, Cassandra. They're making like TikToks left and right, man. Like there's just so much that you can do there too. And it's like, never again are you going to have, once a year, are you going to have all those people in a room together where you can make this content and then recycle it throughout the rest of the year? I mean, so that's so much of your investment as well. I think that it's a kind of an elongated ROI as opposed to like, how many qualified leads did we leave with for X number of dollars put into this booth?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. As a marketing team, I understand that too. You got to represent it, obviously not, and look a little bit past the ROI. It's important in terms of leads and generations and stuff like that, but obviously representation and just making sure you have that education. I brought my gear to do live streams, but man, that internet, that would be one thing I would also just like wired internet. It's like $2,500. That's crazy. So Westgate, or not Westgate, Mandalay Bay, if you're listening.
Mandalay.
You guys need to calm down with the pricing.
Get it together, Mandalay.
That's a little bit much, but yeah, they have Shop Talk right now. There's a lot of different events where I think breadth instead of just Amazon stuff. I know you guys do probably the same thing too. How do you service the e-com person, but also service like the business to business person? Like everyone's kind of like working in various capacities. And how do you want to make a big splash? Okay, that's going to cost you $50,000. Okay. Are you like, do you have the team to do that? Do you have the budget resource? It's all a thing on the service side. So if you're listening to this on the service side of things, please, if you're a seller, attend these events because it makes everyone happy to know that there's lots of sellers who are intrigued. But on the flip side, how do you get in front of those sellers who don't want to go to Vegas or don't want to travel across the world or and kind of get your name in front of them too? So it's all a big mystery that we're slowly unpacking together. So I know we're kind of already at the top of the hour for both of you. What is the people know how to connect with you guys if they haven't already, they haven't listened to the podcast. What's kind of on the radar for the next couple of months, weeks until we talk again?
Well, we're actually moving offices, which is really exciting. So we're going to have fun little new backgrounds for us. And I'm actually having our graphic designer, Jero, work on giving us a facelift for the show. I didn't tell you that, Francois. We're getting new thumbnails.
Okay.
New thumbnails, new backgrounds, everything.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. We're getting a facelift. But we're really going to be focusing on, like I said, we're still focusing on Modcart as far as the show. We're going to keep going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can find our audio-only versions, the audio experience, as I like to call it, on any of the major podcasting platforms. Link Up Leaders Podcast, and our LinkedIn handles are down here at the bottom of our faces. I wonder if I can point in the right spot. There we go. That's the best place to get a hold of us. But otherwise, we're just going to keep cranking out content and hopefully see everybody at a lot more shows. That's what I would like to do. I'm trying to get us in as many places, in front of as many faces as possible.
Faces and places. That's
faces and places.
That's the rule of thumb. Well, that's awesome. I mean, we're ASGTG. Well, I know we just closed on the Ecom Co-op event that will be announced soon. It's coming soon. I don't know if that's public knowledge.
It's supposed to be huge in Jersey.
Yeah. So we're going to be there for that. And obviously,
let's give David a shout out real quick too. He just had a baby, so congratulations.
He did. Well, he's been texting me he's been calling me and texting me the last couple of days. So hopefully it's not been recent, but he's texting me today. Yeah, I was going to say if it was today, then please don't.
No. She was due like while we were at Prosper.
Yeah.
So
I know. I was mad at him for showing up, but he said.
And Yanni Kosminski.
Yanni Kosminski had a baby.
Had it
everyone's having.
Prosper.
Yeah, everyone's having babies. But David, I don't want to skip over that. I know we're over the time, but David Dayon is probably one of the best people out there. Join the Ecom Cooperative. If you're a seller, if you're a service provider, they will do everything to make sure that you have the right services paired to your business and that you have the best relationships. And they're overall, I was telling David, probably one of the best people ever. He gave Lisa a break from her heels, had her sit down, and went and fixed her a plate of food. Like,
he did.
What?
I walked in, he was like, "How you doing?" I was like, "My feet hurt." He goes, "Come with me." He sat me down, fed me. It was fabulous. I love him.
David knows how to wine and dine people and entertain. So that's why he has 4 kids. He has to make sure everyone's happy with him. He needs to feed the children. So David's amazing. He's been calling and texting me every day this week. A lot of cool stuff that we're gonna do together personally, and then also Ecom Co-op stuff. So I'm excited to announce that soon. But yeah, hey guys, thanks so much for hopping on. Gosh, Francois, you've been on quite a bit. I know Lisa, you've been on a couple times. So we appreciate you guys as always. Obviously, go check out Noviland.com. Is the new marketplace up and running? That's just for Atlanta. So if you're from Atlanta, give it a try, right?
Yeah. If you're living in any of the 29 counties that make Metro Atlanta, as south as Sonoya, otherwise known as Noonan, or as north as Jasper, you can find us on modcart.com.
Over my head. I'm gonna trust you that those are places.
This is our corner of the world.
I was gonna say, stay in the South, guys. No, I'm just kidding. No, I appreciate you guys hopping on as always. If you want to hang around after, I know you guys are busy doing multiple podcasts every single day, so go and check them out on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Link Up Leaders. Go and check them out, and we're gonna get Pearl on. I shouted out to her, so I'm gonna make sure I tag her in that so she knows it's about time she gets on Link Up Leader. So
there we go.
Hey guys, thanks so much for hopping on Crossover Commerce today. And thank you guys for hopping on Crossover Commerce. If this is your first time or your 229th time, that's right. This is episode 229 of my corner of the internet known as Crossover Commerce with Ryan Cramer. That's me. I'm the host. We go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, as well as publish these on your audio formats. Basically, anywhere you want to, just search for Crossover Commerce, subscribe, rate it, tell us what you think. If you have a topic that we haven't covered yet, which I doubt, but is possible, go go and let us know. Just connect with me on social media. If you want to hop on the podcast, more than welcome to see what we can talk about and get some education out there to the people who are trying to grow their business. As always, I'm Ryan Cramer. This is Crossover Commerce. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Another live episode on Crossover Commerce. Take care.